Jake the Snake Roberts, born Aurelian Smith Jr., has entertained millions of wrestling fans with his creepy antics, giant snake, and top-notch mullet. He's an 80s WWF icon just as much as Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage, but the Snake's life story has been tragic from the start. Early in his life, Jake had to deal with his grandmother dying of cancer, his beloved stepfather being electrocuted to death, and constant abuse from his stepmother. Roberts also endured the tragic death of a sibling. The reason why haunts Jake to this day. As Jake recalled in the documentary Jake the Snake Roberts, Pick Your Poison, he had a sister whose name he didn't disclose. After a childhood full of abuse, she ran off with a 55-year-old man when she was just 18. According to Roberts, a year after his sister left, she had a child with this older man. Then the man's ex-wife showed up, kidnapped Jake's sister, and killed her. Unfortunately, the courts could never prove a crime took place since they never found the body, meaning the ex-wife only got 10 years in prison on the kidnapping charge. Once released, she and her ex collected the money from Jake's sister's life insurance and ran off together. Jake funneled all the tragedy into his untrustworthy character. As he explained, "I never wanted you to trust me." As Jake recounted in an interview with Slam Sports, he rarely saw his father, pro wrestler Grizzly Smith, more than a couple times a year because the old man was always on the road. Plus, Smith never bothered telling his son that wrestling is staged. As far as Jake was concerned, his father was always on the brink of getting killed in the ring because his opponent was out for blood. After graduating high school, Roberts attended one of Smith's matches and decided to challenge another wrestler. Jake, untrained and drunk, got battered and stretched worse than he'd ever been. After the ordeal, his father laid into him, calling him gutless and telling him you'll never amount to anything. Such callousness motivated Jake to pursue wrestling full-time to show his dad how wrong he was. He also hoped to, one day, finally hear his dad say he was proud of him. Sadly, it never happened. Knowing what Jake's gone through, it's little surprise that Roberts eventually turned to drugs and alcohol to cope with his difficult life. While most fans know he's been an addict since at least the 90s, the truth is he started much earlier, long before anyone knew who he was. Roberts says he started drinking at age 11. Around 1966, he began wrestling in 1975, and the drinking only escalated from there. What's more, once on the road full-time, he added drugs to the mix, even doing speed on occasion. But alcohol was his biggest and most damaging vice by far. As he put it, it no longer became a choice to drink. It was a necessity. I was in a bad mood and underproductive and couldn't get up off the couch unless I had something to drink. Despite all that, he had an image to uphold since he portrayed a good guy for much of his WWF tenure. He posed for a Just Say No to Drugs poster, even if he couldn't say no himself. As he told Salon, "I felt nasty doing that poster, but you do what you're told sometimes." Sadly, few, if any, higher-ups told him to get help until it was almost too late. How's this for irony? Jake the Snake Roberts, a guy famous for carrying humongous pythons to the ring, often on his shoulders, admitted to Sports Illustrated in 2015 that he, quote, "can't stand snakes." And yet there he was, hanging around with a 12-foot python called Damien, night in and night out. Damien, to put it mildly, kicked his butt. As he told one website, "Carrying that 100-pound snake around was brutal on my body. Between weeks' worth of clothes, wrestling gear, and the giant snake, it's quite possible Jake's body was hurt more by traveling than getting thrown around the ring. It's little wonder he preferred working with Lucifer, the devenomized king cobra he wielded when he was such a bad guy. Cobras may be scary, but they only weigh 15 pounds. Jake dealt with this fear every night because he saw his snake as a wall to keep people from learning too much about the man behind the slithery creature. As he told SI, the snake was something to hide behind. Everyone was scared of the snake, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want anyone to get close to me. I wanted everyone to be afraid of me." According to the Pick Your Poison documentary, after Jake left WWF in 1992, he and WCW agreed to a mega deal worth up to $3 million per year. He never saw that money. Shortly after agreeing to the contract, WCW hired a former wrestler named Bill Watts to run the place. Watts voided Jake's contract, forcing him to sign for $200,000 per year. While that's certainly enough to feed most families, it's a slap in the face when you were just promised 15 times that amount.
Either you take a pay cut, or go and look for another job.
During a panel at Tidewater Comic-Con, Jake revealed why Watts did it. Apparently, Watts had a deal with WCW where he made a percentage of the money he saved the company, so he was cutting down contracts left and right, including Jake's. For that, and presumably for other reasons, Roberts called Watts a, quote, sorry piece of shit without a good bone in his body. It's little wonder Jake left WCW in 1993. Still, it might have been a blessing in disguise. If he was drinking that much on a mediocre salary, he probably wouldn't have survived with more money to buy booze. Until the late 90s, fans had no clue how bad Jake Roberts' personal demons truly were. That all changed thanks to events like Heroes of Wrestling, a pay-per-view that exposed the hopelessness of Jake the Snake's situation. Roberts was set to wrestle Jim Neidhart, but in a pre-match interview, he showed he was in no condition to wrestle.
You want to play 21? I got 22. You want to play blackjack? I got 2 of those too.
He was so drunk he could barely stand up. He was no better in the ring, forcing fans to rub his bare chest, pretending his snake was his genitals, and stumbling around the ring while barely acknowledging anything Neidhart did. Things got so awkward and bad, the promoter had to send 2 other wrestlers out to make it a tag team match, simply so Roberts didn't embarrass himself any further. It didn't really work, as Jake attempted to end the show by stuffing Damien down another man's trousers, head first. The crew faded the show to black immediately, proving they had more sense than whoever allowed Roberts to even attempt wrestling in the state he was in. You might think embarrassing himself in front of a TV audience would be the wake-up call Roberts needed to turn his life around, but you'd be wrong. As it turns out, he needed it to happen again before change could start. In 2008, Roberts was booked against indie wrestler JT Lightning at a Firestorm pro wrestling event. But as TMZ reported, he was done long before hitting the ring. He was apparently passed out in the locker room with mere moments to go before he was set to wrestle. More than 20 bottles of airplane vodka were littered all around him. After being woken up and angrily demanding an 8-ball, Roberts stumbled into the arena and began mumbling at both the fans and Lightning. The actual match lasted maybe a minute. After Snake stumbled to the mat, an exasperated Lightning forcefully held him down for an unscripted 3 count. He said Lightning had ripped off all the fans who paid to see him. Roberts responded by flashing the crowd, punching a wall, breaking his hand, and running out into the streets crying. The Snake had truly hit bottom, and even then, it would take 4 more years before he found the help that would save his life. When your life is mostly drugs and alcohol seasoned with a little wrestling, you're probably running afoul of the law every now and again. In Jake's case, he and the law had a long-running feud that wasn't nearly as fun as his WWF rivalries. In May 1989, Roberts was arrested at a WWF show and charged with aggravated battery. According to the Orlando Sentinel, he punched out a man in a Florida bar the previous December. He was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to 10 years probation. Luckily for him, an appellate court concluded Roberts' lawyer hadn't done an adequate job and nullified the verdict. This was just the start of Roberts' legal woes. In 2004, he got nabbed on animal cruelty charges. Allegedly, the python playing Damien at the time didn't eat for months, as Roberts had kept him in a tank and left him there. By the time animal cruelty inspectors discovered Damien, it was too late, and the snake died shortly after. Sadly, this is what can happen when someone who hates snakes is in charge of one. The following year, Roberts was arrested on charges of possessing drug paraphernalia, specifically a crack pipe. Cops also got him on an outstanding 1999 warrant for unpaid child support. Thankfully, Roberts has kept his nose clean since then, at least in the eyes of the law. Nobody knows what else he's gotten away with except Jake himself. After all he's been through, it's shocking that Jake Roberts isn't dead. But he's thriving because 60 years of misery was apparently his limit. By 2012, Roberts was a total mess. He weighed well over 300 pounds and could barely walk. At that point, his savior arrived. Diamond Dallas Page, an ex-wrestler whom Roberts had trained years earlier. Not wanting to see his trainer and friend waste away any longer, Page pitched his DDP Yoga program, hoping to get Roberts back in shape and discipline him enough to stay sober. Jake, perhaps finally sick of his old life, gave the program a shot. Between the DDP Yoga program and actually eating real food for once, he dropped 40 pounds in just a few months and dedicated himself entirely to his new lifestyle. As he told Newsday, "We're changing the oil, we're changing the headlights. We're changing the damn tires, everything, and it's going to be a long journey, but I'm excited. It's paid off immensely as WWE fans saw for themselves in early 2014. Roberts appeared unannounced on WWE Raw and looked to be in phenomenal shape. He had dropped enough weight that he looked largely like he did in the 80s, minus the mullets, and appeared lucid as could be. Several years later, he's still in great shape and is growing back the mullet to boot. It's a sign that at long last, he's ready to live the good life he's always deserved. As further proof that Roberts is finally healthy both physically and mentally, he dealt with a pair of setbacks in 2014 that could have either killed him or made him fall off the wagon, but he beat them both and is still around and in prime form today. Early that year, Roberts told TMZ he had a cancerous tumor behind his knee that would require surgery, but he seemed as optimistic as ever. "If the devil can't defeat me, cancer doesn't stand a chance in hell." After surgery and recovery, he was just fine. Later that year, he came down with double pneumonia. It was severe enough that he lost consciousness in the hospital several times, but he wasn't interested in dying or giving up. According to Dallas Page, he cared more about missing appearances or letting down fans. The snake's still here, so clearly he beat it. All signs point to the tragic part of Jake's life story being over and it being a happier one from here on out. Hopefully that story will involve at least a few more DDTs and snakes slithering around the ring before it's done. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.